Let us acknowledge that we reside in the ancestral lands and waters of the Coast Salish people, who have called this place home since time immemorial. And let us honor inherent Aboriginal and treaty rights that have been passed down from generation to generation. Catherine, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Sharon,
Here.
Dave Anderson,
Here.
Bill,
Here.
Janet,
Here.
Kyle,
Here.
David Dellendorf,
Here.
Paul,
Here.
Jane,
Here.
Patty,
Here.
Tony,
Present.
Dick,
Here.
Liz,
Here.
Bob,
Here.
Kevin,
Here.
Olivia,
Here.
Maureen,
Here.
Anne Marie,
Here.
and Tom.
Here.
Perfect attendance.
That's fantastic. Okay, we will move straight to the minutes. A couple things. One is I have somebody coming by for my well, which is very important. And so when they get here, I will have to step away for a couple minutes. And Olivia, are you able to take chair while I'm away, or should I give that to somebody else if you're still at your work? You got it? Okay. Awesome.
I'm still at work, but it's all good. Sounds good.
Okay, great. And it's not for sure. The other thing is I highly anticipate that this meeting will end in far less than 2 hours. We're going to have some updates and then be done. Obviously public comment and so on. But with that, let's move into the meeting minutes from June 16th. Did folks have a chance to see those? Any changes or additions or issues? If not, I would accept a motion to, Dick, please go ahead.
Yeah, there's something in there. I'm trying to find the minutes now, but there's something in there about the land, something or other, which struck me as this must be a typo. I'm trying to find the minutes again.
Dick, under discussion including, motion by Dick, and then it says discussion including, Kevin clarified that the statement of community values is part of the amendment with the land acknowledgement. Is that it?
Oh, the land acknowledgement. Okay, all right,
Yeah, that's,
I get it.
that's
Okay. I
It
would
wasn't-
accept a motion to adopt the minutes.
So move.
Seconded by Bill. Okay. Moved by Paul, second by Bill. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay, the minutes are adopted. Wonderful. Okay. The other
For
thing,
the
is-
record, I'm abstaining.
pardon me, Olivia, sorry.
I'm abstaining from that. I wasn't at the meeting, so.
Yeah, okay. So one abstention with our vice chair. And while it's on my mind, Dave Anderson, I owe you a phone call. Sorry, I didn't get back to you. Thanks for calling. I will call you back. What we're hoping to do today is just have some updates from, it's not even necessarily subcommittees at this point, it's leads for different topics have really spent a lot of time over the last week. So for the public's sake, while there haven't been as many public meetings, what we're into now is crunch time, where individuals, or in some cases, a couple people are taking individual topics and just spending a ridiculous amount of time finalizing those. And then our staff, Megan, has been doing an incredible job writing up in more of a final form a lot of our language that we had. It is my hope that we are very close to concluding the projects or the proposals that we have before us. And let's go into some updates quickly to go through those. And then hang on, Tom, I see your hand. I'll come to you in 1 second. The way it'll work then is when things are in kind of a final form, they will come back to the commission. If there are changes that are being proposed that are separate from what was voted on, and I'm not talking specific language, I'm not talking clarifying language, I'm talking about if if a proposal is dramatically changing to, as far as what was proposed, then that would have to come back for additional discussion. And there may or may not be some of those. Right now, everything is in line with what was originally voted upon. However, that would still come back for the full commission to review that language, obviously. And then Megan is also beginning her work on the final document, which will be everything in one proposal, the new charter, basically, that we're putting forward. Tom, you had a comment or question?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to speak to the agenda for a moment.
Yeah.
I note on the agenda that there is no indication of a vote being taken on the finalized 5 propositions for the November ballot. I'm also aware that you regularly advise that executive action may be taken at any regular meeting of the CRC. I just want to advise you and the members that many of my constituents are wondering what the heck we are doing and very dismayed at the lack of transparency for the general public, including Duncan Wilson, the Friday Harbor manager, who's contacted me twice. He's very concerned about the solid waste stream and what might happen with the new climate commissioner. So therefore, I urge the commission not to take action on finalizing the propositions today and to go on a publicity campaign to publish and disseminate the propositions text, the bullet points, and the findings. People just don't have an idea what we're doing, and we need to get this work out to them, particularly to the media. So thank you, sir. That was my piece.
Okay, thank you. I will respond on a few different aspects of that. First off, we have put for several months now that statement that executive action may be taken so that if something comes up where we need to take executive action, we have the right to do so. We have clarified that by putting that on the agenda. That is a common thing that goes on every agenda. I do not plan on any executive action today. Today is more of an update on these ones before us. It will be advertised on the agenda when we are voting upon the final document. And that's very clear. And as far as the manager for Friday Harbor, if I know Duncan well, and Duncan, when you're watching this, if you are, dude, call me. Like I'm kind of over folks saying that we're not being transparent. Like we're having public meetings. My phone number is very easy to find, and Duncan actually has it. So if Duncan or the town of Friday Harbor have any questions, they should call me. If they have questions about the climate position, they should call Anne Marie. There was a delay that was pointed out to me on our website of some of the documents, and I believe that's been corrected. So I apologize for that our website was lagging behind. But we're trying to be as transparent as possible on everything. And frankly, I continue to put in way more time than I should be on this thing. So I apologize if I haven't reached out to everybody, but if Duncan or anybody else has a question, they should just call me. And if it's on a specific topic, they should call the chair of that subcommittee. So I appreciate them reaching out to you where they have a relationship. If you could pass on to Duncan or Mayor Farhad to give me a call, and then I'll answer any questions that I can. But I think that's right now, like I said, we're in crunch time where we're just trying to get our work done. And when I say get it done, there's still a significant public process ahead of us, to your final point, which is this full commission will need to kind of ratify the final, like here it is. The other thing is there's a massive public process because everything goes to the ballot. We're not making decisions, we're making recommendations to the ballot. So this November, everything will be on the ballot. And my hope is that many of us will spend some time over the next several months educating people with regard to why or why not do we, why we support something, or maybe we don't support something. So there's just, I hope that answers your question, Tom. And if it doesn't, let me know.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. David?
On this subject, I I understood that we were putting together the fact sheets that would be out in public view before the proposed amendments as a means of communicating what we're actually working on. And for people who haven't been able to follow it every time there's a meeting, just have sporadic ability to follow things. But I thought we were working on the fact sheets for just that very purpose. And I wonder when those fact sheets will be finalized and out, because I thought that was going to be the first priority before the actual amendments were finalized.
Well, it's difficult to write a fact sheet about an amendment that's not completed. So we have to finish the amendments and then we develop the fact sheets. And Megan is one person. And I will also say, so Megan and I are speaking almost daily, and she's doing incredible work. And she got slammed by all of us with just a brain dump. And we tried to give out kind of a template saying, here's what we really need. And I said several times, just bullet points. And some of us have difficulty remembering Mark Twain's quote of, I wish I had time to write a short letter. And I've actually used that phrase several times with this commission. And so it is no surprise to me that, first of all, we haven't finished all the amendments because I was going to use a different analogy, but we were a fire hydrant basically, and we just dumped pages upon pages upon pages. I mean, guys, let's not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Let's just try and this goes back, Tom, to your point. No wonder some people in the public are a little bit confused with some of our work because we talk forever and just, bumper stickers. Let's just have bumper stickers explaining what we're trying to do. So David, to your point, we still hope to have fact sheets completed soon, but there are some of the actual amendments where there's been a lot of back and forth. And so Megan cannot develop a fact sheet that says, here's the 3 bullet points to describe this, when it's not even clear what this is from some of your committee leads to her. So that's now been finalized, I hope. We're going to get into that in a second. And then we can have some fact sheets. And keep in mind, it was never anticipated there would be a fact sheet for each individual issue. What we were thinking is kind of a 1-pager for everything, with possible separate ones for maybe justice and equity and climate environment, which are the 2 topics that A, warrant more explanation, and B, there's been a lot of questions on. So that's kind of the thinking at this point in time. But David, to your point, we're getting those done as quickly as we can. And my hope, frankly, no, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to say, I don't want to jinx everything again. So I feel like we're head down and we're very close to finishing. And I'll leave it at that. But David, to your point, we're going to have fact sheets real soon is my hope. We're just trying to finish. So everybody knows the prioritization I gave Megan is let's finish those amendments. We also have recommendations. And so we're looking at kind of amendments and then the fact sheets or explanations associated with those, and then the recommendations. But she also has to do the entire document in one charter. And that's also a priority. And the other thing is, keep in mind, her contract is supposed to end in 7 days. And so there's a good chance, and I have it under new business for us today, that we may be looking for additional resources, because while I anticipate us being done very soon, I think 7 days is a little tight. So, David, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we get into the next agenda item? Great. Okay. Let's go into updates from whomever the lead is on these different subjects, and we're going to go by subject. So we have term limits on county council. Maureen, I think that's you.
Yep. So we are almost there. We got an opinion from Randy this morning, and it's been changed from revising section 5.1 to it's now going into 5.20. And we had everybody weigh in pretty much today. A lot of changes passed around. And then finally, Amy came in and really helped sew it up. So we're just about done with the language that will be put into the charter for this proposed amendment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's great. Any questions for Maureen? That's
How
fine.
about Dick Rout? Do you have any questions? Come on, Dick, ask him now.
Hey, Amy, quickly, I got a bounce from Randy today. Is he on vacation or is he gone for 2 weeks?
Oops.
Amy, are you there? It's all right. I can ask you offline too. I wasn't aware and I got a bounce when I emailed him about something today. So, you went off mute. Oh, your microphone doesn't work. Okay, Amy, I can call you later after the meeting or something, but I have a question to ask you anyway, so it'll be good to circle back with you. But thank you for being here. Okay, let's go Anne Marie with Climate Environment.
Yeah, we don't have anything to report at this time. We're hard at work.
Okay, but I am aware significant progress is being made.
We like to think so.
Okay, and the latest document, I believe, Catherine, wasn't that posted to the website?
Oh, we haven't done it there.
I will have to check.
Okay, all right. If not, let's, Anne Marie, if you could make sure Catherine has it and we'll go from there. But I thought I saw an email saying that that was updated.
Okay.
I heard from one of our council members that it wasn't and about a week ago. And so.
I'll have to check with you and see which one they want. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Okay, the revised introduction to the charter. Is that going to be Bob?
Yeah. The process committee wrapped actually a couple of weeks ago. I got the fact sheets for all of that to Megan at that time. What we have, as you all know, we have the acknowledgement, the preamble, and the value statement are now one introductory section. So that will be one amendment. And as I said, I got the thing to Megan quite a while ago. It actually turns out that I got the other thing that we worked on, which was the budget and provisions. It turns out that I had actually finished that and sent it off several weeks ago now. And so we're done. I'm done. I've been communing with some other heads and given my opinions on various things. And I've also, Kevin, I think I let you know about how weird I thought that acknowledgement was, that not acknowledgement, that thing that Randy sent out, the resolution, that we're supposed to sign, and all I've got to say is don't sign it. It's there are some changes needed in that resolution. It's
a draft.
Yeah, it sure was. What some of you may not know, what happened was several crucial words were changed from 2012, and that's okay, you can change it, but they did reflect what the various positions are about when we shut down. For instance, he changed the phrase was something like the product, our product, to our final thing. He put the word final in there, which reflects what they've been trying to say it was all along. So I don't know where we are on all that, but okay, that's what I've been doing, and I continue to be available to folks now who other committees I have worked with who would
Bob,
like to pick my brain.
And I've got Jane and then David, just so you guys know. I'll get to you in 1 second. Bob, two points. One is you sent the pieces to Megan. I can't remember. Did you get them back from Megan already?
Oh yeah.
The introduction. So we're actually done with introduction, I believe.
Yeah. Now I'm a little confused about sending them to her, getting them back when they go to the prosecuting attorney. It seems like we have, and this is probably not happening, but it seems to me, it's my perception that we have an ongoing, continuous round of sending things back to Randy.
No,
And-
we're sorry to say it so bluntly, but no, I got your email on that.
Okay.
So we've gotten input from Randy, and Randy has, as our prosecutor,
Yes.
giving us, legal advice on different aspects.
Sure.
And there, but his memos have kind of, this is very in layman's terms, but there's kind of two different things going on. One is he's pointing out areas where we may actually have a conflict with the law or the Constitution, and
Mhm.
others are areas where he's making suggestions.
Sure.
And on the former, we would be well advised to say, okay, if that's a legal conflict, we probably shouldn't go there. It's still up to us, but I don't know of any situations where we have not. In other areas where he's making suggestions, we as a commission can decide whether or not to listen to that advice or not.
Sure.
The changes you pointed out in the draft are a bit concerning to me because that is a discussion that we have had, and this commission has voted that we did not agree with his, and this was not it's a perspective. It's not a legal analysis, right? On when we are done with our work. And I'm glad that you caught that. I caught that as well, that there were some changes in that draft from 2012, which are substantial and meaningful. And that is a decision the commission makes. That is not a decision that our council makes for us or anybody else makes. It's this body decides when our work is done, and also when how that form should look. So I think this is a draft, and I took that as a suggestion from him based on his most recent opinion, not his February opinion. And in the future, I would hope that those come as a discussion point, as opposed to just being in a document like that. But that's all right. We have yeah, I'll stop there. So I have Jane and then David.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just really quickly, for sake of clarification for everybody, it was the Justice and Equity Subcommittee that had proposed that amendment for the land acknowledgement. And so Bob knew this, but the rest of you didn't. But Randy had no issue with the language. So yeah, Bob was able to see. Well, I think if you didn't all read what Randy sent us last Monday, you may not have seen that the Randy was, all fine with the language and the inclusion of that. And he didn't make any suggested changes. But just a little clarification, that's all.
Great, thank you. David?
Yeah, could I comment on the C&E amendment? We moved on to Bob real quickly, and I didn't have a chance to say something. Can I comment on that?
Yeah, are you gonna tell us you don't like the elected official again?
No, I've given up that battle. I already communicated with a number of you, including Anne Marie and Kevin, you were copied, about the fact that there's no specifics in here about what this commissioner and this new department is trying to achieve. Remember, and I referenced this last meeting, that remember Vince and a couple other people thought that there should be more detail in here. And I passed that on to Anne Marie. She said that was brought up in a meeting of the subcommittee, but I just want to emphasize it again because it wasn't brought up by Anne Marie. I think there needs to be something in here about what this department is trying to achieve. We've got a list of all the different ordinances now that it's responsible for, but what by managing these ordinances and giving advice, what is it trying to achieve? Just mentioning climate and environment isn't enough. I looked at the proposed amendment for the Justice and Equity, and they have in the introduction to them, they have some very specific language about what they're trying to achieve, what this new department would do, or what's the purpose of adding this amendment. But I don't see that for the C&E. And I'm not proposing it has to be something very complicated, but it could be something just along the lines, I haven't drafted anything, but something along the lines of that this new commissioner will manage existing ordinances and help create policy and manage assets of the county in such a way to contribute to the minimization of the impact of climate change on the environment, on our county environment. It could be something just as simple as that. Otherwise, it looks like the duties are just to enforce the ordinances that exist. But I think there needs to be more of an umbrella statement of what the purpose is of this particular position. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anne Marie, did you have any response to that? I could say something as well.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. David, thank you. Good suggestion. In our draft from a month ago, there was actually a full page describing exactly that. And we were told to cut it back. So part of the issue now is in finalizing things, we're getting back to exactly some of what you said. And so like I said, I hope that in coming days, there will be new language that gets there, but thank you for raising that. And that actually gets to Tom's point, which is, making sure that we're telling people why we're doing the things we're doing. So, yeah.
Could I have one other comment was about the advisory committee, and I passed this on as well. I think the advisory committee is not going to be perceived by the public as being anything else but biased. I like the idea that it's stacked with environmentalists, but I think in going to the public for approval, people are going to look at it and say, wait a minute, this thing is not evenly allocated. I think it needs more representation from a broader array of constituents. And I don't know if the county has a policy on that when it appoints members to various subcommittees, if it tries to balance things by intent or by ordinance or not, but I think it's a wise thing to consider because it's gonna drum up opposition just for that reason.
Okay. I disagree with your summarization of the committee, but I think your point is very well made. So just had to put my opinion in there too. So Bob?
I don't believe we need to balance an advisory committee between people who believe in the amendment and people who don't. No sense. Makes no sense at all. Let's have people who believe in what the person is doing, advise that person about how to go about doing it. That's my point of view.
Okay, sorry guys, I have to, all of us have day jobs. I've got a day job here for 1 minute. So let's move into the, where are we? We were done with the 3. Let's go into the non-discrimination piece, Jane. Can you just give a brief update on where that is?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's actually 2 remaining pieces from the Justice and Equity Subcommittee that the full commission agreed would be proposed amendments that have gone to Randy, and we've gotten feedback back. We've received feedback from him as of last Monday. So the first one is a section that we're proposing to include in the Charter on Non-Discrimination. And so he provided some comments on that section, and we've reviewed those, and we will be coming back to the full CRC with a proposal for how we handle his comments. And the same can be said for the comments he provided on the proposed amendment related to the establishment of a Justice, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. And the comments he provided on that are, from our perspective, more problematic because he's suggesting that we remove the word justice from the name of that commission. And so anyway, I think what I feel is important at this juncture, given that we're only a subcommittee or that's now not meeting anymore, but there were only 4 of us in the first place, I've asked that the executive committee take stock of the suggestions by Randy, which are suggestions. They're not, there's nothing in terms of illegalities around what we're proposing in these amendments. And so I feel it would be better if the executive committee took stock of where I believe our subcommittee is at on those two proposed amendments. And then we come up with, as a larger group, our recommendations to the full commission and giving you some sense of where we're landing and why. So that's where we're at. And I would expect that by next week, we'll be able to share with you our thinking and, you know, and I guess we would be putting it to a vote, or I suppose, I'm not sure how that's happening. So that's where we're at with those final two remaining proposed amendments from the Justice and Equity Subcommittee.
Thank you very much, Jane. Okay. And again, on that one too, if there's substantial changes, there would be another vote. If not, however, regardless, that will be coming back to the full commission, hopefully next Wednesday is my hope. And so we can have a lengthy conversation about that. And Catherine, I'll just plant the seed now. We'll put that on the agenda for next week for an update from Justice and Equity. And then at that point, we can go through what will be at that point, hopefully a proposed final draft that we can consider. Any comments or questions? Great. Okay, let's go initiative and referendums.
Okay, I got back from Megan the language in the charter that would be changed, and she's changed the order of what we had and put the financial aspect first because it appears in the charter first, and then the 15% down to 8% next. And then the additional regulation that we were going to have in there, I had no idea where it goes. So I'm hoping that they can figure that out. But, and it's gone back to Megan and she's taken it from there.
Great. Great. And I've corresponded with Megan on that one too. So I hope that that will be finalized and ready for next week as well. So it feels like next week for the commission, we could have sent to the full commission, and many of you have seen some of these, so some of this will be repetitive, but what I would like to do is Catherine and Megan, if you can work together and we'll get to the full commission, the term limits, the revised introduction in its entirety, and then before, but likely, you know, on Tuesday, you'll probably get the non-discrimination section because there still needs to be some more discussion on that. And then initiatives and referendum too. We could go over language and look at that for next week. And my hope is that we'll have at least an outline on climate and environment, discussing that, if not close to final language as well. So are there any questions on that for kind of next steps? Yeah, Maureen.
I don't have a question about the next steps, but I just wanted to say to everybody today, well, term limits is a very direct proposal for the ballot coming up. And we really essentially on the committee only changed one sentence. And today we spent about 6.5 hours back and forth with the prosecuting attorney's office going over words that had to be bent and stuffed and reevaluated, and one sentence. And it's extraordinary that it takes that kind of time for something that really isn't that complicated. So my heart goes out to those of you who are having to do sections that were analyzed and declassified and everything else. I'm sure that was excruciating. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Jane?
No, I take my hand down. That's okay. Thank you.
All right. It looked like a good stretch. Everybody stretch. Everybody stretch. All right. Sharon, was that actually a hand or was that a stretch too?
That's actually a hand.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you want any sort of report on the ranked choice voting amendment today, but I'm prepared to do that if you want to.
Yeah, please, actually. Why don't we go ahead and add that?
Okay. Do you want to do that now, or are we up to that or not yet?
I think right now sounds like the optimum time.
Okay. So I submitted an amendment to the ranked choice voting amendment to Megan, and she looked that over and made just some very small changes in just literally formatting, spacing, and paragraphs. And she had a question that just on how it was set up in terms of the sections that are referred to in the charter are under different section numbers. Like, for example, you'd have section number 1 referring to section number 5.10. So that seems to be an okay way to do this. I actually spaced it out a little bit more so that it's clear to see there's 9 sections that refer to part of the charter, either saying this is going to be amended, this is going to be added, or this is going to be removed. So I think it's pretty clear. Of course, it'll go to Randy and he can speak to whether that seems like a good sort of structure, but we are ready to go.
Okay, great. So let's make sure that the full commission has that, because that was a full commission decision, not a subcommittee decision as well. So I really want to make sure that, and I don't know, has that been sent to the full commission, that latest version?
No, I sent it back to Megan and she was going to send it to you. And this was yesterday or the day before. So I could certainly submit it. I just don't want to do, I want to do this the proper.
Let me
order, so.
let me check. Megan's driving now. She's listening, but let me circle back with Megan. So task. That is ranked choice. It took me 2 months to be able to write ranked and not ranker. If my hand writes R-A-N-K-E, it just puts an R. It just automatically puts an R. Okay, so okay, let me check on that, but I want to make sure that that language for that one comes back and everybody has a good amount of time to review it and make sure that they feel good about it and so on, which we're going to be doing with all of them. David, I see your hand, which we'll do with all of them, but that one, since it was commission vote, I want to get it sooner than later. So I will circle back with Megan on that, and I've even circled it in blue. Okay.
You have it. You have the language.
Yeah, I know. I just want to talk to Megan about if there was additional changes or something. Please. David?
In case all of you are not aware, the recent or yesterday's New York mayoral election was based on ranked choice voting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how it all plays out, with the top 2 candidates having received approximately 30% and 24%. But if I'm not mistaken, there's at least 10 or 15 candidates. So it's going to be a interesting demonstration of how the system works, for better or for worse. And it's going to get a lot of publicity, I'm sure, to inform the public what's happening. And so everybody can learn from this. I don't know if it's a test case or what you want to call it, but it's going to be very educational for us, and at least for me, and the general public as well. So follow that if you can.
Great, thank you. So we're on a new business then, unless there's any other updates on different pieces. There was a question sent to me on C&E. We're having a lot of discussions on the climate environment one right now, also with a bunch of different community members. I know that Anne Marie has had conversations, I have, and we're really trying to listen to folks, some who love the idea, some who don't, and others, based on the last conversation this full commission had, and David Dellendorf, frankly, some of your points as well, which is, other people have raised different points. So that's why I'm saying next week, I think we're going to have more detail on that. I will also say, okay, Bob, go ahead, because I was going to jump into new business.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this relates to what we've been talking about. There is floating around at least one more a possible amendment or an addition to an amendment Dick and I worked on a little bit of language, like a couple of sentences having to do with when the next commission, making it clear when the next commission closes up shop. The language that says we decide, no one else decides, and we will announce that fact at the appropriate time that this is our final action and all of that. And we thought about whether that ought to go in at all, and if so, whether it needed a separate amendment, or if we wanted to add it, could we add it to the budget and provisions amendment and call it a CRC process amendment, something like that. So anyway, that's floating around for us to consider. Maybe the executive committee considers it. I don't know.
So again, the executive committee can't take any action.
I know that. Yeah.
Bill, I see your hand. Let me respond to
Yeah,
this.
I just want to respond to Bob. My concern, Bob, would be that by making this amendment, there is an implied admission
Yeah.
that it's needed. And
Right.
if that's the case, and there are two submissions, you may weaken the argument for the second, should it ever go to court. I think you've got to be very careful about ringing this bell.
I think you're right. That's a concern.
So Bob, I was just going to say the same thing. I got your email on that one. So I think there's discussion to be had there. However, the other thing is we're trying to whittle down the number of amendments, not add new ones. So I'm nervous about that. There are, however, so the other thing that we're going to discuss next week, and Catherine, this is another seed to plant for you to make sure it's on the agenda, is the 2 versus 1 year. And that I'm cautiously putting it on for next week if we have the other information that we just went through actually in final form or final draft form, because then we will know what we have before us and we will be able to have a thoughtful discussion of whether or not we need 2 years. It is very clear to me that legally we can go 2 years. I've asked a lot of people their opinion on that, and every review I've gotten, except for the most recent one from our own prosecutor, was in line with what our prosecutor told us in February. That said, we may not need it. My hope is we don't need it. So my hope is that next week we could go over language that we're hoping is final language and talk about the submission. We will not be done, however. Megan will need more time to actually finish the entire document. That brings us to new business, which is I am going to ask that we schedule a special meeting for Monday of next week, and we may cancel it, but I want to put it, I want to get it on people's calendars and I want to advertise it. And the reason why is because there's a lot of moving parts right now, and the county council has put forward a plan where they are discussing in their Tuesday session our work and a potential competing proposal, and how they may want to consider that. And this is, they're exclusively talking about a competing proposal for the climate and environment position. And I would like us to be able to have another conversation if climate and environment moves further along, so that the full commission could talk about where we are and where we want to be before the council meeting, so that we could inform them. And this goes back to what I made as a comment last week. Hang on, Bill, I'll get to you in a second, which was, it is my hope that we can come together and do something in collaboration with the county council instead of being opposed or in opposition, or having competing ballots or an ordinance in a ballot. I think that gets difficult, confusing, and potentially strenuous and stressful for not just all of us and for the county council, but for our citizens. So I'd like to try and get in front of this. So all I'm saying is that I'd like to try and put a placeholder on for Monday, and we may in fact cancel it if we don't need it, but I wanted to bring it up now. And it would be Monday, I believe, at 4. Bill.
I can't say how strongly I support what you're saying. If the county council and we can come to some political understanding, it would be very helpful, Because while there seems to be the assumption that the county council has to put together a competing proposition, they don't have to do that. They could take all the wind out of our sails by having a 3-touch ordinance, putting in a new department, giving it powers, which we can only ask for and hope for. And all of a sudden, the voters are going to say, what's this about? Well, there already is this. This is an extremely sensitive moment for us and for the council. There's some high political bets on this, and I think coordination would be absolutely ideal.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
I really agree with what you said, except for taking the wind out of our sails. There are a number of very strong reasons why doing something in the charter is far more valuable, not the least of which is it's permanent. Not the second of which is we can do some stronger things that can't be overturned by a future council. And there are a number of other reasons. The other thing I would say is there are a lot of people in this community very excited about the current proposal for C&E, who I know are willing to go to bat. And so I don't feel by any means that it takes the wind out of our sails if there's an ordinance. But that is neither here nor there, because my hope, my very strong hope, is that we can come together and not have a public battle. I think that that takes away from our goal of really just trying to do what's best for the county.
Absolutely.
Liz, I see your hand. Do you mind if I, actually, why don't you go ahead, Liz, and then I'm going to break for public comment.
I can loop back.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We've got, oh, we had it 30 seconds. Why don't you go ahead and we'll start when you're done.
I had a question, just is if you would elaborate on what that would look like coming together with the county council. What are some of the scenarios that you can imagine, and how would we get there? And getting clear on Monday, I understand the value of that, but then how do we, get to and work with the council before their meeting on Tuesday? Can you just say more about that, Kevin?
Not right now, because conversations are yet to happen. So some conversations are beginning, and what we want to do is flush those out and then see if there is any potential for common ground. And so I don't have any answers on that right now. But my hope is that, maybe before Monday we can. And so the county council has kind of drawn a line where they're having a meeting on Monday where they want to have conversations about this. They've also set a potential hearing date for later in July. My hope is that we can push hard with our subcommittee and then also others who are working on this matter and push for some other conversations so that then, I can't speak for the full commission and individual council members can't speak for the full council. So what's going to need to happen is a council meeting and a commission meeting. And by me holding Monday, I'm hoping that maybe before Monday, there can be a little bit more information out there. And at least maybe an idea of whether there could be common ground. I don't know if there can be. If we say elected and they say we hate elected, okay, have a nice day. We'll see who wins at the ballot. I don't want to get there. I'd like us to try and figure out, unfortunately for me, I've been in politics too long and I understand how the sausage gets made. And sometimes politics is the art of compromise. And so I want to try and, push us in that direction. So Liz, sorry for kind of giving you a non-answer, but I don't have anything more right now.
Kevin, I'd also sent an email on this question as well. And so if you could respond to that email, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
know you get hundreds of them.
It's been insane. So I will apologize just publicly right now to the commission and anybody else. I'm way behind on my county emails. It's insane how many I've gotten in the last 7 days. So Anne Marie, did you have a comment?
Yeah, do we need a motion for Monday?
No, I can set the agenda.
Okay.
I can set a meeting as chair. I just wanted to give people a heads up now. So it would be Monday at 4 o'clock. So put it on the calendars. And then, like I said, we may or may not have it, but I want to make sure we have it scheduled if we So with that, we're a couple minutes late. I want to go to public comment. Is there anybody here from the public who would like to comment this evening? No? Okay, with that, I would close public comment. And with that, I don't have any other agenda items at this point in time. So I want to say to Tom, sorry if I seemed snappy when you brought up the piece about Duncan. I got 3 other notes from people today saying that somebody else had a question and why hadn't I reached out to them? And I was just feeling like, I just need people to call me. Just pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on? So sorry if I snapped, Tom. Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, we all are online for the most part with what we're all talking about. I will admit I have trouble keeping up with all the subcommittee correspondence with Randy and with each other. And I can't imagine what someone like Duncan Wilson must go through trying to just get the simple idea of the text of the 5 propositions that we're going to look at first.
Yeah.
Not even to mention the other 6. And so I feel for my constituents that we don't have something they can put in their hand. I've heard people say, yeah, they should look at the website and they should tune into these meetings, but get real, they're not going to do that. Yeah. And we need to somehow get our information out through the media and get out of our cocoon.
Yeah. So Tom, to your point, spot on. And it actually goes back to David's point earlier, which is that's why we wanted to do these fact sheets. The problem has been that Megan can't develop a fact sheet on an issue when she doesn't have the clarity on exactly what some of those specifics are. So hopefully we'll have that very soon. And that will begin to alleviate that. And we want to get those onto the website very quickly too. I have Bill and then Dave and then Paul.
We can, our propositions really only create pockets. In part, this is partly an answer to both Tom's and David's comments. We don't know what these departments would do if formed, because the departments would in large part rely on the extent to which the county council granted them powers. There's a lot you can do with no power, but it's very similar to the power a neighbor has watching somebody doing what they shouldn't. When you move to the point where action can be taken, you're now invoking power that has to come from the county council. We can't guarantee that. It's not our function. It's up to the county council to decide how much authority, how much police power it wants to give up. That's an unknown political issue. The county council is not always eager to do that, and we can understand why. So I think we have to understand that no matter what the voters may expect to happen, Tarzan or Jane thundering through the jungle, it really depends on the second step, which is what the council does in response to a proposition that is voted in.
To some degree, Bill, I'm not the lawyer here, you are, but I will say that one of the reasons why in the environment and climate and the justice and equity one, we reference very specific language, and in climate and environment, very specific ordinances and state statutes. And by doing so, you're giving that person that authority. Now, Randy has clarified and he has accurately depicted the fact that under the Growth Management Act, that authority is vested by state law in the county council, in the legislative.
Right. That's right.
And so that's why the last draft that was publicly circulated of that, and this is what they did in Clallam County when they created a similar position. They gave the person the authority they needed to give them. And in the case of the GMA, they requested that their county commission vest those duties and that authority in this new position, which they did because the voters voted upon it. So our language as it reads currently does the exact same thing on the Growth Management Act. There has been a little back and forth at the council meeting regarding the Shoreline Management Act. And again, our prosecutor and actually Amy actually clarified with the county council, and I was forwarded the email by one of the council members that SMA they're believing is vested in the county and the legislative authority as well. I have other opinions that say exactly the opposite. And so that's one of the ones where we're going to go back and forth. But again, this all leads to the fact that if we can come together and we're not in competition with the council, there's a much greater likelihood that the council would then cooperate with verifying what the position is after it's elected and after it's gone through the ballot. And so that's my hope, is that we can get there.
Which is why I so strongly support you on that, Kevin.
Thank you, Bill. There was another hand and I forgot. Bob, please.
The question about us having information available for the public. I'd just like to say that, I mean, apparently the two biggest things are climate and environment and justice and equity. I think a simple thing to tell folks is that we will let them know when we know, because we don't. And until we have documents that have been promulgated properly that can be shared with them, they shouldn't expect them. Okay. But when we can tell people that we've been working on things, of course, they could have been listening if they were really, that interested in the minutia, they could have been listening. But in the meantime, we can't give them the product until we have come up with it.
So, Bob, I'm going to push back a little bit. I think Tom
Okay.
Starr made a really good point, which is, and sorry, Duncan, for when he's watching this, he's going to be like, God, everybody's talking about me. Duncan's I can't remember if his title is actually administrator or manager for the town of Friday Harbor, but he's the, what is it?
Administrator.
Administrator. So he's the administrator for the town of Friday Harbor. His job is to ensure that his mayor and his council and the people of the town of Friday Harbor are aware of what could impact them positively or negatively. And so, and he also, I know Duncan, and I know he works really, really hard. And I know that he doesn't have the time to go back and spend 2 hours online reviewing our meetings. And so, yes, Bob, we're still finalizing some things, but I think we can do a better job of trying to get those bullet points out there to clarify things. So I'm going to go to David, and then I hope maybe we're close to being finished, because my on-site person just showed up, so I got to leave.
Okay.
But David, go ahead.
Yeah, I disagree with Bob. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I think it was a Monday meeting, the subject of fact sheets came up in the same context, that the public is complaining that they don't know what's going on. And I remember, I think it was a Monday, we said, okay, let's get some fact sheets done. When can we get them done by Wednesday? And there were people said, no, give us a few more days. So I said, okay, Friday. And to me, that meant there was urgency. We're going to get them done by Friday, at least in draft form, and then hopefully get them out the following week. And we've slipped from that schedule. And I hope I'm not misrepresenting what I heard, but not purposely, of course. But, the fact that we aren't finalized things yet, if we wait till we finalize things, it's going to be potentially 3 or 4 more weeks. And the public is just going to continue to fester, saying, why won't they tell us? Why won't they tell us? So you can have a fact sheet that says, as currently being considered, David, this is what we're talking about. And I think we should do that now rather than later. It's just, David, I just don't understand the delay.
I'm just going to say it. You are one of the people who has dumped a ton on Megan. All right. And so other people have as well. It's one person. We have 2 staff total. All right. And so, and I also said, if you go back to this meeting and listen to what I said in response to your first comment in the beginning of the meeting, I said, let's not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So you are spot on. We need to have that data out there. It's not going to be a few weeks. In a few weeks, I hope to be done. So it's going to be days. But what I have asked Megan to do appropriately is prioritize the amendments. And so we're trying to finalize that. And we have gone through a ton of information over the last days. And we just went through the list. Almost every one of those is done. Justice and equity will be done next week. We hope climate and environment will be. And there's a whole bunch of different conversations going on and work going on. So, and I hope that we have those bullet points available very soon. We have shared several times information in public forums and on our website that people need to read through. I will also tell you, after 15 years of being in politics, that no matter how much information you share in whatever form, somebody's going to tell you you haven't shared enough. So, David, we're trying. I'm trying. and it will be out as soon as it possibly can, but I'm not going to push Megan any harder than we already are. I've got Jane and then.
Can I just, can I comment on that?
Take over.
Can I comment? First of all, I haven't
David,
dumped
David,
anything on Megan. That's
David,
completely erroneous.
Jane and then Maureen, and then we'll go back to David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just for clarification, in case this is helpful, but I mean, the comments we received from the prosecuting attorney last week on the Justice and Equity Subcommittee amendments were what we needed to get us finished. For myself, I was fully engaged in my professional work last week, which I have, so I just did not get a chance to circle back with the rest of the Justice and Equity Committee members and subcommittee members and talk to them about it. And same thing with the executive committee members. And so, you know, people are doing the best that they can. And I think it would be really a bad idea to be putting fact sheets out about something that is still in process. Because this Justice and Equity and Inclusion Commission that we're proposing, the prosecuting attorney is suggesting a change in the name. And so, you know, we can't be going out with documents that, or you know, text of amendments that are going to change. I mean, that's completely not appropriate. And so, you know, I just do want to say, I mean, I have been helping push this along, but I have also been extremely employed professionally, and unfortunately, I just have not had time. So I don't think it's a good idea to be putting stuff out to the public when it's not finalized internally.
Dick, and then Maureen, and then Dick. Sorry.
Okay, I'll be brief. I just have a couple of things to say. In the first place, Kevin, I'm very I want to recognize how much you're trying to do to soothe the beasts out there that are upset with us and trying to whatever. The county is doing things I've never seen them do before. And I really appreciate how hard you're working to solve the problems and integrate. That's important. Secondly, the CRC is not the enemy of the people. And we have been elected by the people to review the charter. That is our job. We are not the problem. What we've come up with may be scary to some people, but it isn't the problem. We're doing what we're supposed to do. And we have all done summaries, and those are posted online. Our groups did what we came up, you know, what the problem was, what the vote was, and what the amendment was, whatever. It's all online if people choose to take the time to look at it. And a lot of people come up to me talking, and they know what we're doing. They have questions, but they know what we're doing. There's rumor, there's this, there's that. So, you know, take things with a grain of salt. What the public does or doesn't know. And believe me, I know there are tons of people out there that don't even care that we are doing this right now. So we have to just keep focused, do our job, and try and support the work that's being done here. And
Dick?
Yeah, just quickly, I completely agree with Jane. If we put stuff out there that's not final, all we will do is create confusion and needless controversy and discussion. I think it's a very bad idea. And we need to keep in mind that we need to finish our work. We will then do some sort of information and education campaign, and then the voters get the final say.
Yeah.
That's it.
Any other comments? Okay. Plan on Monday, and I will clarify that as soon as we have more information, but I think it might be a good idea. I want to thank you all for the conversation tonight. David, I'm sorry I picked on you. I just can't continue to, I'm fried like the rest of you. Let's put it that way. So anyway, everybody have a great night. And with that, I would love a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. All those in favor? It was seconded by David. All those in favor? All right.
Aye.
All right. No opposed, no abstentions. We're out. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.